It's just a grotesque postmodern psyop, and anyone who's fallen for this is brain damaged.
So the Tucker is into a little bit of a pickle. Apparently he doesn't appreciate the Canadian government, maybe because they went after the truckers while his name is Tucker, who knows, but he had the statement. And he said that why should we stand back and watch our biggest trading partner, the country with which we share the longest border, and actually a great country. I love Canada. I've always loved Canada because of its natural beauty. Why should we ever let it become Cuba? Why don't we liberate it? We're spending all this money to liberate Ukraine from the Russians, so why do we not liberate Canada from Trudeau? Now, obviously, to any person with a brain, this is a joke, and he is making the argument, it's like, if the United States is going to liberate countries around the world, how does it decide which country needs liberating and which one doesn't? Because there are human rights violations happening in Canada. Of course, the Canadian government does not appreciate this, and my favorite take is that they will not allow Tucker Carlson's hate to go into Canada. And I'm thinking, like, how are you going to prevent a human emotion from crossing the borders? Like, that is an interesting question. The other is that Tucker's rhetoric created the January 6th. Now, it's very interesting to believe that Tucker Carlson has the power to brainwash people, to puppeteer, to manipulate, right? Like he's like one of those villains from the comic books, like Mind Meld. You know, he just presses two fingers on his forehead and he mind controls people. But in reality, I do believe that there is a significant segment of the American population that does not appreciate the fact that there is a war in Ukraine, and they do not want their taxes to go to that conflict. Those people have to be represented. If those people are ignored and they are not represented and their grievances aren't even aired in the public, that's when you get violence, okay? Free speech is to stop violence, it's not to create it. The whole idea is that when people have grievances, they need to be aired in public. So Tucker Carlson says his piece, representing the people that have the grievances, and then you have CNN or MSNBC or someone else presenting the counter argument. And that's how you actually manage to calm people down. You do not calm people down by telling them to shut the fuck up. It never happens throughout human history. So, this is why Tucker Carlson is an important figure. And by the way, I do disagree with Tucker Carlson's takes. I do think that America supporting Ukraine is going to be very advantageous, especially economically for America in the future after the conflict, with the rebuilding of Ukraine and the geostrategical importance of the area. But that's another conversation. Also, Tucker Carlson, I do not think that he is a pro-Russian agent. I believe that he is just an American patriot, which is more for an isolationist type of policy. Like basically America withdrawing from everywhere around the world and sitting just in the United States, which would probably mean the end of the current Western civilization as we know it. Whether you think that's a good thing or not, up to you, but I found it hilarious that left-leaning people, yet again, take a joke or a statement, a metaphor that is supposed to mean something, and they pretend that it's actually literal. As if Tucker Carlson actually has the capability of initiating an invasion into Canada. Right? Like, this is the mindset that some politicians and some journalists live in, or at least this is the mindset that they want to project upon people.
I believe you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That given the rise of far-right and associated violent extremism led to the attempted insurrection in the United States, the House condemns recent comments made by Fox News personality Tucker Carlson, in which he suggests U.S. armed forces liberate Canada from the current Prime Minister.
Why are we not sending an armed force north to liberate Canada from Trudeau? And I mean it.
As opposed to the honourable member moving the motion, will please say nay. Nay, I'm afraid we don't have...
I love the dramatic music, the doo-doom, doo-doom, the black and white picture, right? Like, as if the invasion is about to come. As if Tucker Carlson is the Hitler of the United States and, you know, he's rallying the troops. Complete insanity. Like, they do not have anything better to do than to troll an American news anchor. Do you know how many times, like, Canadian journalists have said nasty things about Donald Trump? Or Canadian authors and Canadian movie stars. They also said bad things about the United States, about the MAGA citizens, so on and so forth. It would be so ridiculous if the U.S. Senate would go, it's like, oh my god, they said these things about our president. And by the way, the rhetoric of January 6th. What about the rhetoric about the government allowing banks to seize money from private people? What about that in order to squash the trucker protest? Why don't you worry about stuff that's happening in your nation before looking abroad? I mean, there are so many things that you can say about Canada, and like their last problem would be what the American news anchor is saying. I found that to be very interesting. Well, what do you guys think? I'm especially interested in listening from Canadians, though. I do appreciate that the Conservatives in Canada seem to finally have some balls and stand up against optics. Like, that was so condescending. Oh, I hope it's unanimous. It's unanimous. Like, shut the fuck up. You know, you do have political opposition there. It's not a dictatorship. Like, people are allowed to think differently. And again, I do believe that it's a joke. It's not even like in the sense that it's a joke. It's in the sense of the comparison being America should not be the world police in the view of Tucker Carlson, which, by the way, used to be a left-wing view. Like, during the Bush era, like, that was a left-leaning view. To have America withdraw all its forces from all around the world, right? Like, that was a leftist point of view. But now, for some reason, it seems that it has switched. There are more people on the left that are supporting the intervention in Ukraine, while people on the right are more like, no, we should, like, we supported enough, or we shouldn't. And again, like, this is perfectly normal in a democracy. And I'm living next to the conflict. Like, of course, it's in my best interest that America supports Ukraine. But at the same time, it's also in my best interest to understand that democracy is good. What's happening in the United States is healthy and normal. People should have different views and different takes. And those takes and views should be represented. Sometimes in a more crass way. I do agree that Tucker Carlson could have done a better job. He probably did lose a little bit of support. I heard some right-wingers being a little bit upset with his decorum, because apparently decorum does matter in the United States, especially for the middle-aged and the more elderly generation. Doesn't matter as much for the younger generation. But, you know, the people that do watch Fox News, they tend to be more middle-aged towards the elderly, and yeah, they do care a lot about decorum. And for some reason, some of them, not all, but they did find this joke to be a little bit crass. And this is what the left is capitalizing on. And at the end of the day, this is the huge issue. Like, you're giving them ammunition when you shouldn't. Like, there's no need to. Like, you could have expressed the same thing without having to say that you want to invade Canada. Which, by the way, I genuinely do not think that Tucker Carlson, if he had the button to launch the invasion, I don't think he would press it. In fact, given his ideology, if he was the president of the United States and followed through with the things that he is saying, he would probably withdraw American military from everywhere across the world, allowing China and Russia to be able to do whatever they want, including probably boycotting American trading lines and setting prices and tariffs, which might upset the American consumer. But, you know, that's a conversation for a more broader video. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section.